Hey soapy folks, it is Kevin with Divinely Designed, and this is a soap video. This is going to be a video for Amy's Soap Challenge squeeze bottle technique. I'm going to do, I think, this is probably going to be a kind of complicated soap, and I hope that my soap batter stays very thin because I need it to sort of stay chilled out for a while. And I am going to use a squeeze bottle of sorts. I hope this isn't really cheating or anything, but I'm not going to use big squeeze bottles, but I'm going to use little plastic pipettes. And I'm going to use that to make a design on some paper that I'm going to then put into the bottom of my Red Essential Depot mold. And the pattern that I've chosen is a plaid. Kind of a very classic plaid, right? So the Burberry plaid, that's usually what people associate it with. And I thought this would be kind of cool to try and pipe and get this design on top. And the reason I chose this was actually because of the fragrance, because I'm going to use Green Irish Tweed, which is a type, like a dupe of a cologne, which smells so good. And I only have an ounce of this, so I didn't want to make a full mold, you know, a full red mold. So I'm using about 1/3 of my normal recipe, which I think should give me about, you know, a bar that's about 1 inch thick. And then I'm just going to cut it in 3 or 4 blocks. So it's going to be sort of like a tiny version of a slab mold. I don't have a slab mold, so this is how I'm going to do it. Alright, so let's go over the recipe. For my oils, I have 149 grams of olive oil pomace, 99 grams of 76-degree coconut oil, 78 grams of cocoa butter, 78 grams of shea butter, 64 grams of castor oil, 178 grams of water, and 64 grams of lye. My temperatures, my water is around 85, my oils are around 90, I just checked them, and I don't know if you can see, but I have this sort of piece of butcher's paper. On the back, I've traced out my pattern just in black with a Sharpie and just a pen. The thin lines are where the red goes, and the black lines are where the black goes. So I'm using a couple of different colors. First I'll be doing the thin lines, and I'll be doing them in red with Celestial Colors Cherry. Then I'll be doing the black lines in TKB Trading Blackest Black, which I just found out also they discontinued Blackest Black. So I have a bunch of it in here. It'll probably last for a while, but they do offer something else now. I forget what it's called. Once I have the lines traced, then you can see that in the little squares here in the middle, I'm going to put in a drop of white. Then between the black lines is going to be a very pale tan, a much lighter tan than the rest, and then the rest is going to be tan, and for that I'm going to use Cappuccino, which is also a celestial color. These are pretty small amounts, and I've never used this fragrance before. I've used this recipe before, and it does very well. I'm hoping the fragrance cooperates. And I'm going to use probably pretty small amounts of soap into little plastic cups that'll color. Then I'll use my little pipette as my squeeze bottle. And I'm going to take, you know, some red and paint on the red lines, and then I'll do the same with the black. So now the other complicating thing is once this is done is getting it into the red mold. This part is probably going to take a long time. So I may actually turn off the video while I'm doing it because it's going to just need some detail work. So I may actually just turn this off and then I'll come back once it's all finished. And that's the plan. All right, so, and that's why I'm sitting down also. I'm usually standing up, moving around, but I'm sitting down for this because I know I'm going to be doing some sort of detail work. But let's get this all mixed up. Okay. Okay. I don't see any more traces of oil, so that is all I am going to do. I'm going to try and leave this kind of as thin as I possibly can. Okay. First, I'm going to deal with the red. Alright, so we'll try this. This may be a complete and utter disaster. We'll see. I don't really need a lot of these colors. I'm making a mess already. Okay, so that's a pretty good red. All right. All right, so we'll start, and then I may just turn this off because this just might get pretty boring. And I actually would, maybe continue to film this whole thing, but I use iMovie to edit my videos, and it doesn't have fast forward. They just came out with a new version, and there is speed control on it, but I use an iPad mini, and it doesn't let me speed things up, just slow them down. So, okay. But I think you get the idea. So I'm going to continue to work on this, and then I'll be back. All right, so stay tuned after the break. Okay, everyone. So that was probably about 10 minutes, and it's thickened up considerably. So I wanted to do some light tan between the black stripes, but I just think it's too thick to do that. But it came out okay. I mean, I'm going to color this with tan and put it all in. I'm going to try to get this into the mold, though. This was the other challenging piece of this project. Okay. All right, that should be good. I'm just going to let that sit for just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of white and then the cappuccino. I'm going to mix this by hand first, I think. And I did not add the fragrance yet, so I'm about to do that. I just want to not stick blend this until I really need to, because it's pretty thick. I think that's about exactly the right color, though. Alright, let me put the fragrance in. That's 1 ounce of fragrance. This is such a nice. I have never smelled this men's cologne before, but it is such a nice men's fragrance. I don't even know how to describe it. It's very pleasant and light, but still has, sort of a cologne-y kind of side to it. Oh, good Lord. Okay. Oh no. I just splashed soap on my kitchen. Okay. Alright, I'm going to try to be gentle with this. I mean, although I would say the lines have kind of firmed up. Probably hard to see in there. Okay, that's better. So this batter did, I mean, it stayed pretty nice. I mean, I was piping for a while, so it's, it's sort of yogurt-y consistency right now, which is pretty good considering how long I kind of let it sit. And like I said, I'm not filling up this mold. I'm going to kind of do like a, I don't know, a poor man's slab mold, I guess. I'm not really sure what to say. But I think this will give me a nice, like, inch-thick bar or so. I'll probably get, 4 bars out of it, maybe 5, we'll see. All right, I got it all covered up. The piping was pretty tough, actually, but I will say, you know, when it got thicker, actually, it was easier to pipe a little bit. It's almost like if you've ever done sugar icing, or, you know, sugar cookies or cookies with royal icing, and, you know, if you've done royal icing, you know you can do it thin. And that's when you can flood a design. They call it flooding, where the icing is so thin it flows. But in order to flood, you have to create the outline. And the consistency for royal icing to create the outline is thicker. And when it got to that consistency, it was almost like doing a royal icing line. The lines got... You were able to sort of pipe and run a continuous line. When the batter was very thin, it was much harder. I mean, it was just like liquid. So keeping straight lines when it's very thin was hard. So the red is kind of wavy. But then the black, by the time I sort of got to the black, it had thickened up some, and it was easier to do that sort of piping technique that you would use for royal icing. But, you know, I mean, the trade-off is the batter's thick, and you don't have a, you know at that point you don't have a lot of time to work with it. So, all right, I'm gonna. I don't want to be too rough with this because I don't want to mess up the design. Okay, so there we have Green Irish Tweed with a Burberry pattern for Amy Warden's Soap Challenge squeeze bottle technique. All right, so stick around. After the break should be the unmolding. Thanks. Hey folks, Kevin here. I totally forgot to film the cutting of this. As you can see, they're already cut. So they came out really nice. This recipe, I was able to cut this recipe in 5 hours. Now, it wasn't very thin, although I did get a nice, you know, probably inch thick bar there, and it went right into the refrigerator after I made it. But 5 hours later, it was nice and firm, and I could cut it. Now, it's still soft. I mean, if I pressed on it, I'd mess it up. But the pattern came out very nice. It's a little, you know, squiggly. You know, it's not precise, but I'm pretty happy with it, and it smells super fantastic. So, sorry about not filming it, but all I did was take it out of the mold and use a knife to cut it in half, and then each half in half again. So I got 4 nice size bars, and that's it. Okay, comments, questions, leave them below. If you like it, subscribe. I love to hear from you guys, and thanks very much for watching. Check back soon.